Hey everybody, it's Kay. I hope you're doing well. So today I have something very special to share with you. Actually, let me reintroduce myself to you. Hi everyone, my name is Karen Talley, and I am the author of Something on the Inside, a poetry collection. Yes, this is my book, my debut collection. I'm so excited to share it with you. Let me give you a little history on how this came about. As a child, I fell in love with nursery rhymes. When I was in 8th grade, I think it was, I had an assignment in English class to write about a poet, to share some of their work, and to write my own poems. I went to the library, I found a book on Langston Hughes. I fell in love with Langston Hughes. I was surprised a Black person could write a book because I'd never seen a Black person on the cover of a book before. Mind you, this was the early 80s. I live in a small town in South Carolina. There weren't many books by Black people around back then, not in my area. So when I found that book, I fell in love with Langston Hughes. I fell in love with his work, and I started writing my own poems. And then I became acquainted with Dr. Maya Angelou, and I started reading her work as well. So through high school, I continued to write. I ended up writing some songs for my spiritual choir at high school. Shout out to Miss Snyder for letting me do that. And over the years, I just kept writing and writing and writing until before I knew it, I had amassed a large number of poems, maybe over 200-300 poems. I'm really not sure. When I was in my early 30s, I believe it was, I started sending out my poetry to be published. I was published in a magazine and some chapbooks and in an anthology, but it wasn't the same as having my own. But life happened. I was a single mom. I had to work. I didn't have time to write. I was going to school. I was, being mom, all of the things, right? I would write here and there when I could and just either save the poem on my computer or stick it in a file cabinet. And that was that. That's just where my poetry lived for so many years. Fast forward to a few years ago, I had made so many connections on Instagram, on Facebook, and here on YouTube. And I was a guest on an Instagram show called Snaps, which is hosted by author and poet Norian Love. And I said, you know what, let me pull some of my work out of the file cabinet and test it with his audience to see what the reception is. So I'd read poems and people actually liked them. So that fueled my desire to become published. So with the loving push of encouragement from my co-host on Live with Ray and Kay on Instagram, Dr. Raymond Williams, with his love and encouragement, I said, you know what, let me get my manuscript together. I'm going to publish this book. And that's what I did. I would come home from work as tired as I was. I would pull poems out of the file cabinet, out of notebooks. I would sit here and a lot of them were it's like I said, still in notebooks and printed. I would sit here and have to type them up at night after a long day at work. And finally, I felt like I curated from all those poems a manuscript worthy of being published. And then, I don't know how I got on the subject of dreams with my pastor, but he and I were talking about it, and I told him what I wanted to do. He said, you need to talk to my wife's friend. She's an editor. And I said, really? Okay. And so it turned out I was already following that friend on Instagram. I had no idea. Anyway, I connected with her. She edited my manuscript. She said, you're ready to be published. And so here we are. I had help from other people. Pretty Brown Eye Reader, who has a channel here on YouTube. She doesn't post anymore, but she was a beta reader for me. I know she loves poetry. She was a tremendous help during this process. Also, author D.L. White was very helpful, answered all of my questions, helped me with cover design, and just was tremendous support. So I didn't do it all alone. I had people in my corner, and I will never forget that, and I truly appreciate it. And so here we are. My book is published. I've had a few interviews. I've done a few book sales, and What an amazing journey this has been since April. It it's so funny. I really wasn't sure about the reception, but the reception's been so good. People have been so kind. The reviews have been nice online, and I wish more people would post their reviews because reviews are very helpful. But it's just been amazing. I'm thankful. I'm humbled. I'm grateful. All the things, all the things. But anyway, even if you don't like poetry, I think you will like mine because I just feel like I write in a way that my poems can connect with people. I'm not a spoken word poet, so I want to set that expectation. When you pick up my book, it's not going to be like you're, reading something by a Def Jam poet. That's not how I write at all. I always wrote my poetry so that it could be read, not necessarily performed, if that makes sense. Maybe you get what I mean by that. But I have just heard from so many people how much they like it. And I hope that you will read it and like it too. Again, it is Something on the Inside. I'll put the link down below where you can purchase the book. And it's a short, quick read. Some people have read this book in one day. It's very easy to do that. Okay, but just wanted to share this with you. It's just so exciting. I still can't believe it's here, but it is. It's here. So check it out. And until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye-bye.